People who went to a wedding where the couple didn't last long. What happened? The relationship between the bride's father and the groom was contentious from before the wedding. At it, one of the bride's cousins had a dress with a cleavage, and one of the groom's cousins, drunk off his ass, came to her and told her he wanted, ad verbatim, to suck her boobs. One tells her date, who promptly punches the groom's cousin. This begins a full-on family versus family brawl that culminates with the groom punching the bride's father, and this man taking his daughter away and keeping her away from her husband for 10 days. It got annulled, can't imagine why. My stepsister-in-law got married when she was a teenager, and her husband was young as well and a moron. I'm not even sure it lasted a year. I remember one thing he did was brake check cars multiple times, causing crashes and needing physical therapy. I can't imagine being that goddamn stupid. I remember he and his friends drinking illegally at the wedding like they were cool, but they just looked like fucking clowns. I hated to see her marry an idiot like that because she is super smart and had goals, and his goal was just to be a moron. My brother got married to a woman from Russia while in the army. The whole family thought she married him for a green card, but he was convinced it was love. They had their ceremony in a gazebo on a military base. It was a small gathering of family that traveled to it from out of state. His best friend since high school got ordained just so he could marry them. My brother was really excited. He wore a nice suit, and the bride, well, she showed up in a bright pink tracksuit. They divorced a year later. My cousin was in a toxic relationship for a long time. They got engaged and he tried to leave her before the wedding. Her family, apparently drug-doing, troublemaking hillbillies, pressured him into staying. The wedding was called off about a week before and was back on in less than 24 hours. He married her and they separated like the next day. They're getting a divorce now. She just had a baby, and we're not sure if it's his or not. This happened pretty recently, so it's causing some family drama. I was going to be best man at a friend's wedding. We got together the evening before the wedding, and all seemed well. Then, at 7:30 the next morning, I got a phone call from my friend. He said that the wedding was called off, and he would call and explain later. He didn't. It was 2 weeks later. I finally got a hold of his dad, and he said that his son was away at boot camp and wouldn't be coming back. I never heard from him or the bride again, so I didn't really know what happened. Wife got pregnant unexpectedly. Her rich family freaked out, called in all their connections to pull a $100,000 wedding and reception within a few weeks. Wife had a miscarriage after 6 months. A year later they were divorced and their marriage annulled. Neither the wife nor the husband really wanted to marry, but they caved due to pro-life family pressure. I think they would have made a go of it had they had the kid, but once that was out of the picture the marriage fell pretty quickly. Nothing much, but the very, very crazy bride's family were religious wackos and made a big deal about pointing out their father's law offices and all his rental properties. Tink was the bride's brother who got way too into the gambling when we were in Atlantic City, kept trying to get us to leave the rehearsal dinner to find a casino, which were not legal in Ohio then. She had a baby she never bonded with. Shortly thereafter, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and hospitalized for months. When she was released, he went to court to get an order mandating that she only be allowed to see her child with another adult person. They mutually decided at that point to end the marriage. He now has full custody of the child, and she has limited visitation rights. Sad story. He was a laid-back, depressed cynic. She was an over-enthusiastic overachiever with strong opinions on everyone else's life choices. They'd never lived under the same roof before. I suspect religion may have been a factor. Of course, she got pregnant immediately after the wedding, and the kid was born just around the time they realized they couldn't stand each other. Poor kid. All of Donald Trump's marriages, because of several serial adultery and rape accusations during each of them. And he bragged on a radio interview about sexually assaulting women. The American, patriotic, Christians are fine with this, including female Trump supporters. I know they are ignorant, but I still worrying about their safety in this environment. Bride came out to Slipknot. They wrote their own vows, which were, shall we say, overtly and uncomfortably sexual, and they had been dating for a grand total of 2 whole weeks. Any and all attempts to inform them that this was a mistake were met with when you know, or you're just jealous. But hey, a free bar is a free bar. Saw some signs at the wedding, like ignoring each other, making rude and snide remarks publicly, etc. They tried to fix their marriage by having a kid earlier than they planned, and that led to divorce. Both are married to different people now, and have had more kids, by all accounts far more civil, even cordial with each other. I'll start. The bride and groom got married at 20, and the bride's dad asked her to return his credit card during his speech because she can't use daddy's money now that she's married. He then ran over and started cutting his OWN credit card while the DJ played Rich Girl. A few weeks later, the bride drove to her parents' house after work instead of her home and said she didn't want to be married anymore and asked them to fix it. Another one. Bride left months later because groom's drug use had quickly spiraled out of control. She was way hotter than my cousin, by like a lot. She was nicer than him, like a lot. So she left him. I still don't know why she married him in the first place. She made more than he does. So it wasn't looks, personality, or money. The bride was a diva and sad her best friend couldn't make it to wedding. It was my husband's friend's wedding, so I didn't really know them that well. Turned out she was drama queen, and only after 2 or 3 years they split up. Not surprise. My cousin female bride was dancing too much at the reception, so the groom hit her. My uncles gave him a ride to the hospital, which he needed very badly by the time he got there. It was annual pretty quickly. During the reception, the bride's niece accidentally knocked over a drink that splashed the bride's shoes, and she backhanded her in front of everyone. It caused a huge fight, and the groom walked out right then. Actually, I performed a wedding at a local bar. We left about 10 p.m. The newlyweds got drunk, started fighting, and were arrested, spending the night in jail. She cheated on him with her coworker because he wasn't paying enough attention to her. He liked video games, she liked to party. Usually not a good combo. There was a young lady working with me who was caught texting her boyfriend on the wedding day. She had even sent him herself in her wedding dress. Pretty boring. But among one person's life goals was to be a parent and the other didn't want children. That's a hard bump in the road to ignore. The bride was an absolute banshee and just wanted a wedding for some stupid reason. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy too. Marriage is a scam. The bride and groom got married, and within 3 months, the bride found out the groom was married and had kids in a different country. Bridezilla snapped at the groom's mom, and then yelled at the groom when he told her not to speak disrespectfully to his mother. I'm not sure that the thank you card from my gift arrived on the day I found out they were divorced. 2 weeks at most. It turned out he was HIV positive and had another wife. She got caught banging his underage cousin. The maid of honor sat down at our table, downed a shot, and said, I give them 3 years. Well, I was 5 minutes late, so I don't know what happened cause it didn't last long. He got a cock ring. They have a much more fulfilling sex life now. The groom wanted an open marriage and the bride didn't.